Okay, so this is a bit awkward, but because obviously it's Matthew that does this, but he's a little under the weather, can't really speak right now. And all we're really doing is talking about the Game Awards. So, roll it.
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast where we'll appear again in another 4 weeks or so. I am the Dean of Games, the Dean Slater on all platforms, and joining me today from Twitch's graveyard, Gavin. I don't know if you heard that or not, but it's Gavin.
Even Discord is like, yeah, that's not human.
Yeah. So anyway, today we are going to be discussing the Game Awards, which was what we discussed in our last episode, which we did before the nominations even came out.
We don't deserve this podcast.
Oh, yeah. It's I've been very, very sick. You can ask Gavin. It's been real bad.
Somehow I haven't gotten sick yet. All of you have gotten sick.
Well, Jenna hasn't gotten sick yet.
Not me.
Yeah. I mean, you're starting to get a cough, though.
I smoke!
But as outside of all that fun stuff of us not being around and everything, one super exciting thing that happened while I was sick and I got to watch it. H Bomber Guy released his annual video, and oh boy, it was 4 hours. And it was plagiarism on YouTube was the subject. And it was a fun time. Yeah. And he unlike his Tommy Tallarico one, he went for a bunch of people. Like a lot of people. And it was just a fun time. He has a great knack for making it funny while still being informative and not plagiarized. Probably because he doesn't release a video essay or more a week. He releases a video essay a year.
Yeah. But they're so good. They're so good. Like, I haven't even watched a full one. I just seen bits and pieces of it. But I just love... Like, this is the same guy that we're talking about that, like, fucking, like, will, like, suddenly get really, really energized, like, and then, like, go right back to just being monotone as fuck.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
There's no way he could do that, right? Right? No!
Like, anytime we say something, I'm like, right? No!
But this is Extra, your weekly gaming news podcast covering the news leading up to December 11th, 2023. And if you like us, you can go to patreon.com/thebriefingroom, where we have been going through every other week for the editorials. We've been going through my old high school YouTube videos and doing director's commentary. And we did a pretty depressing one. But let's get to some news. And as I mentioned, the news is the Game Awards. And boy, do I have a lot to say about the Game Awards. Before we get to that conversation, though, we're going to cover the announcements and the award winners. But since a lot of the conversations revolve around the award winners, we'll go through the announcements first.
Well, we should also probably discuss who won the snake draft.
Yeah, so Angela won by a pretty wide margin. I had a point. Gavin had no points. Matthew had 5 points, and Angela had 7 points, with 6 of those points being just Baldur's Gate.
We still don't deserve this podcast.
But anyway, we will definitely be getting to that. So we have, for announcements, this is in order. We had Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons remake, which is from the people that did the guy that did A Way Out and It Takes Two, and that's coming February 28th, 2024. Pony Island 2 Panda Circus, and this is from the people that did Inscription.
Really?
Yeah.
I love Inscription. Oh yeah, I think
so, yeah, and it has YouTuber ProZD, which is Sungwon. I hope I said that right. That's his actual name, but he goes by ProZD on YouTube. The Rise of the Golden Idol, and that, let's see, I don't remember. Oh, right. So this was the one that they tried to be sneaky and like they snuck in a Game Awards into the background of their trailer, like the actual trophy from the Game Awards. They snuck it in to their trailer, but it was basically a panned out of like a screen, and it had those how conspiracy theorists will have like the cork board with the red yarn, and so they had that, and as you zoomed out, it was the game's logo. And then the people that did Tunic, which if you remember, Tunic for a lot of 2022 was my game of the year, but eventually got beat out by Kirby. The people that made that are going to be releasing a game in 2025 called Usual June, which has a very interesting art style. But I'm excited about that. And then Enfield, Arknight's Enfield for mobile and PS5. I couldn't tell you what that trailer is about because at the time my stream was dying because Gavin was trying to set up a laptop.
Look, I needed it, and I'm so fucking happy I have it. Great. I honestly wasn't even paying attention to most of it because I've been like reading the chat from the other servers just like catch up real quick, and then I just hear because Gavin had to set up a laptop. I'm like, look here, goddammit.
And then Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader, because of course a Jeff Keighley event isn't complete without a Warhammer 40,000 game in it. Assassin's Creed Nexus, which is a Assassin's Creed VR game, is out now on MetaQuest. Okay, so this game, I love the idea of the game. It looks fun. It does not look like a game. It looks like not even DreamWorks, but like, I guess DreamWorks, yeah, a DreamWorks movie is like the way the art style kind of makes me feel. It's called Harmonium the Musical, and it is a deaf girl that ends up, I guess, being transported to this world where her sign language actually becomes sound in the world. And so she's singing, and she's a young girl, but she has an adult woman's voice when she's sign languaging, which is interesting. Windblown is an interesting game. It is from the people that did Dead Cells. I don't know if you've ever played Dead Cells, Gavin.
I have not.
But it was a like an iguana-like creature, a axolotl, and a what was the other one? I don't remember what the other one was. Like a fox thing. And they're being taught how to fight or whatever, and they just keep dying, and like dying brutally, like blood everywhere. I'm guessing. Now this is just I haven't looked into anything outside the trailer. I'm guessing that it's like a 3-person co-op roguelike is what I'm guessing it is. So that'll be interesting. And then you had Thrasher, which this was like the psychedelic game. Gavin, do you remember like this how like Windows used to have like a media player, and when you would play music, like it would do like visuals.
Oh yeah, like a cool little fucking like trippy LSD type shit.
Yes, that's this entire game. I was watching this and I was like, I have no idea what the fuck's going on right now. Persona 3 Reload, which is coming February 2nd. I'm excited about that. I have been playing. Well, I don't want to get too far into it. I have been playing a Persona game. If you want to know more about what me playing a Persona game, you can check out our post show at the lowest tier for Patreon. But I've been playing a Persona game to like get that out of the way so I can play this game. Although I have taken a little bit of a break because I had to do a second playthrough to get all of the achievements, and it's a lot to play through twice. It is a JRPG after all. So I don't know if you've heard of either the game Dave the Diver or the game Dredge at all. But they're doing a crossover thing, which is fascinating. Dredge is, I don't know if it's actually classified as a horror game, but like it's, there's some creepy shit in that game. And then Dave the Diver is like this happy-go-lucky, like, fishing meets, cooking sim. And they're doing crossover, which I think is interesting. World of Goo was announced for 2024. Or World of Goo 2, sorry. World of Goo 2 was announced for 2024. And I was commenting at how interesting the game looked. And how that art style kind of reminds me of like a 2D version of the art style of the Psychonauts franchise. And I actually got a comment on my reaction video on YouTube. And in that comment, someone said that World of Goo is actually a highly influential indie game that inspired a bunch of other indie games. So I got to check out the World of Goo franchise, I guess, and find out more. And then from the people that do Persona, they're not just doing Persona 3 Reload. They're also doing a game called Metaphor ReFantasio. And that's coming out in the fall of 2024. Unlike the Persona franchise, however, where Personas, it's like you're in semi-modern day. Like, I mean, Persona 4, for instance, takes place in 2011, which is 12 years ago. But, so semi-modern. But this game actually is like a high fantasy, like just flat out high fantasy. There's nothing like, quote, modern about the setting, which has a lot of people excited. I'm not as excited about that. I used to be super into high fantasy, and I'm just not anymore. But I am intrigued by that game.
I'm hit or miss when it comes to high fantasy. Like there are some games and TV shows and other such that's like very high fantasy that I'm like, I don't really care. But then like I also obsess over Lord.
Yeah.
And I play a lot of D&D, which our D&D campaign is high fantasy, and I'm loving it. So like I don't know, it's high fantasy is again very just hit or miss for me.
Yeah. Okay. And then Exodus. Oh, right. So Exodus was a game that was introduced by Matthew McConaughey. And he said he's in the game, but his voice is not in the trailer whatsoever. So maybe. But it's very like it's got that, quote, NASA punk, as Starfield described it, style, kind of like Stardew and kind of like the Mass Effect franchises, where it's kind of like classic space travel like looking, but also with more of the sci-fi elements, like classic sci-fi elements. And so the story that was told in the trailer is that a guy saves his love from these aliens that were pursuing them over some sort of technology by going through a time-dilating wormhole. And so he only traveled for a couple minutes, but she had lived her entire life by the time he left. So that's pretty interesting. We'll see how that game turns out. Oh, and God of War Ragnarok is getting a free DLC called Valhalla on December 12th, and it is not story-based. It is, I forget what it is, but it's another mode. It's not story or anything. But it is, like I said, free, which is awesome that Sony is actually doing something like that. Normally they try to cash in on their big franchises like that. And I don't know, Gavin, if you remember Untitled Goose Game or not.
I never played it, but I know where it is.
I love Untitled Goose Game. I also got all of the achievements in Untitled Goose Game. They announced their next project, which is called Big Walk, and you know those birds that like are weighted, so they dip their beak into like a glass of water or whatever, and then come back up.
Yeah,
they all look like those birds. Like all the characters look like those birds, and it looks like it's like a co-op thing. And the characters are all super cartoony, and some of the environments are super cartoony, but like the environment around everything that's happening is like hyper realistic, which I love that dichotomy there. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. We've seen this a couple times now. That is like it's a Metroidvania in the Prince of Persia world, and it's this new character that's trying to save the main character of the Prince of Persia games. We got yet another trailer for Hellblade 2: Senua's Saga. No release date, but they do say 2024. We've been seeing this game for like 5 years now. See. Oh, right. So this you wouldn't know about, but when Ghostwire Tokyo was initially announced, which ended up not being a good game, but when it was initially announced, people were excited because one of the developers that came up onto the stage, she was just so high energy and just so excited to be working in video games, and like her enthusiasm, I believe, is what carried that game as far as it did, even after she left. But she had left and then created her own studio. And she showed the trailer for her first game with her new studio, and it's called Ken Murray, and it's got flair to it. Nothing I could say about that trailer could do that trailer justice. You have to watch it for yourself. And then oh right. So then the studio that made the two Ori games, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and Ori, what was the? Drawing a blank on the other Ori game. They announced their new game, and it's called No Rest for the Wicked. It's got these art style to it. This isn't really the best way to describe it, but I can't think of any other way. It almost looks like everything had been like live action, and then they had animated over, if you know what I'm saying. Like that's kind of like it's kind of that style meets kind of the Tales, like Tales from the Borderlands and Telltale. That's what I was thinking of. It's kind of the Telltale mixed with like the animation style where they animate over live action. It's interesting to say the least.
So it's sort of like things that they did with like Horizon and Last of Us and shit like that, the motion capture, but it's with the artistic style of like the Telltale game.
Kinda, yeah. It's a little bit more artsy than like the motion capture. I don't know that it was motion captured, but yeah, that's not a terrible way to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion capture-esque.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, and then Sega. Yeah, Sega.
That pops in my brain every time somebody says Sega. Just Sega.
They are mad lads. So they had a trailer at this point where I didn't know what was going on initially. Like, it's just this dude and his girlfriend like playing games, and then stuff started disappearing, and I didn't know what was going on until I saw a license plate that said Crazy Taxi disappear, and I was like, did that just say Crazy Taxi? And it did, because not only did they announce Crazy Taxi, they announced 4 other games at the same time in the same trailer.
Sega be on one right now.
They announced 5 games. Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Golden Axe, Street of Rage, Crazy Taxi, and then they said and more. So those were the 5 it showed, but there's and more to it, which is insane that that's all in a single trailer.
Yeah.
But I've never played Jet Set, but I know a lot of people love the Jet Set Radio stuff. And then Dragon Ball Sparking Zero was announced. And I don't know if this is... It starts with saying a new Budokai Tenkaichi begins. So I don't know if this is the new Budokai Tenkaichi game that they announced they were working on, or if that's just coincidence that it began with that, and we know that there's a game like that in development. But yeah, that's coming to Xbox, PS5, and PC. And then I don't remember if it was leaked or just announced ahead of time that it was being worked on, but casting of Frank Stone was announced with the trailer, and that is the Dead by Daylight single-player game. And that is coming out 2024. I'm surprised that didn't get a bigger pop from you.
Associated, I'm sorry. What'd you say?
I said the casting of Frank Stone, which is the Dead by Daylight single-player game, was announced with a trailer.
Okay. Ooh.
And it's coming out 2024.
Ooh, close.
Visions of Mana was announced, which is part of the Mana franchise. I have never played a Mana game. I would love to, because I love JRPGs, but I do not have the time for JRPGs. And as I mentioned already, I've got Persona games on my plate. I've got possible... next year, I think next year is the year of JRPGs. You know how this year it was, space games and so forth? This year it's an open world. I guess open world is more the thing is for this year, but next year there's like 5 JRPGs coming out that are big name JRPGs, and it's like, God, why do you do this to me, guys? Rise of Ronin, which is from Team Ninja. We knew about this game. It had been announced before, and man, I'm not a graphics guy, but this game looks old gen. And it's exclusive to PS5. Oh yeah. So I have to admit, I kind of lied to Gavin on accident earlier. It wasn't on the podcast. It was in our personal life. But I had told him that a new Outlast game had come out back in March. I didn't see the year. So it did not come out this March. It comes out this upcoming March. The Outlast Trials. March 5th, 2024. Or it says Deluxe Edition, so maybe it did come out and I don't know. But Gavin's big into Outlast. So he'll love that. Yeah. And then the new Hideo Kojima game was announced. The one that we knew he's working on with Xbox, like the cloud gaming based one. And it is what you would expect from a Kojima trailer. And they brought Jordan Peele onto the stage with Kojima. And Jordan Peele was working with Kojima. Which is crazy to think about. Did you ever think that would happen, those two collabing?
Not
So after that, Jurassic Park Survival was announced, and this game takes place immediately after the first Jurassic Park movie, and it's featuring a woman that did not get evac'd. So like the trailer, she's in like the kitchen, and the kitchen looks just like it did in the first Jurassic Park movie because it takes place right after that movie. And it had a lot of the similar beats where like she's hiding from raptors, and it wasn't a raptor. What's the one thing with the neck flaps?
don't know what they're called.
I don't know what they're called either. But she's basically running from them and stuff. Then Fortnite Rocket Racing was announced, and it's already out. And I've heard so many people talk about how much they love Fortnite Rocket Racing. Black Myth Wukong came out on, or not came out, is coming out August 20th, 2024. And this is a retelling of Journey, is it Journey to the East? Yeah. And then Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. No one cares about that game at this point. A new Warframe expansion was announced. Banishers, Ghost of New Eden, which is from Don't Nod. This is the one where... sorry. The guy you're playing as, his wife's a ghost, and the trailer hints that he can bring her back by banishing other ghosts, which is why it's called Banishers. And then we had Ready or Not, which is some sort of shooter, but I don't know. Then we had Tales of Kinzira Zhao. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And this game is the thing that I know you heard me make a comment about. This game was supported by Critical Role, and it looks pretty cool. Like it looks like it's a Metroidvania platformer, and it's awesome. Lost Records Bloom and Rage, which I think was also Don't Nod. Don't quote me on that, but it looks like it kind of feels like, based on like how the trailer goes, Life is Strange meets what is it, Blair Witch, where there's like VHS style like records, and then it's this group of friends, and then the group of friends end up meeting like 20 years later or whatever.
Like found footage.
Yeah. I do not recognize this game. This might have been another one that I didn't get to see because my internet shit out on me. But the first Berserker Kazan. Let's see. Apex Legends meets Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Honkai Star Rail stuff, obviously. Skull and Bones, which no one cares about. So Arcane Leon, who released the Deathloop, they are working on a Blade game. Marvel's Blade. Twisted Metal 2 is getting a second season. And then I know for a fact I did not get to see this trailer. It's the Last Sentinel. And then I don't think I saw First Descendant either. Doesn't look super familiar to me, so I might have missed that one as well from the internet shitting out on me. And then Zenless Zone Zero, which is from the people that do Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. It's more of an action game than the others. Mecha Break, which for a long time I thought was a Gundam game based on one of the designs. Then you have Helldivers 2, another Warhammer 40,000 game. And then I don't know if it's just that it's leaving the beta stage and getting its actual release or what, but Get the Fuck Out was shown. Den of Wolves, which is a sci-fi heist game. So think Payday, but in space. Exoborn, Master of the Apocalypse, which I do not remember that game. I definitely saw it, but I don't remember it. Asgard's Wrath comes out December 15th on MetaQuest. That game was introduced by Matthew Mercer. And of course, when he walked on screen, I go, fucking Mercer. As you do. No Man's Sky will still be getting updates in 2024, but they are working on a new game called Light No Fire, which is also a procedurally generated world. And when asked about it, because like he said it's ambitious, and they're like, whoa, we know what happened when you said ambitious with No Man's Sky. It took 3 years for that game to get right. And he's like, they're like, just give a one sentence synopsis. And he goes, we're creating Earth. Like, okay, cool. Stormgate, which is it's kind of a spiritual successor to the Blizzard strategy game. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on it. I fucking suck. They announced a new character for Guilty Gear Strive, Elfet Valentine. I hope I said that right. Final Fantasy 16 DLC was announced. Alan Wake is getting New Game Plus and new story content. Actually, today is when it's getting that. The Finals was officially released, which I know you watched your brother play that after you found that out.
Yep.
And then Monster Hunter Wilds was announced. We're an hour in, and I think the video, the editorials was only like 20 minutes. So that was just basically half hour of me rattling off the announcements. So you can imagine how much time was taken on the trailers. So just keep that in mind for a few while I get into the winners. And then we'll have our big discussion on the stuff. So best esports event went to League of Legends World Championship. Best esports coach went to Christine Potter Chi. Best esports team went to JD Gaming. Best esports athlete went to I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. He goes by Faker. Best esports game went to Valorant, which surprised me. I haven't heard anyone talk about Valorant this year. Content creator of the year went to Iron Mouse. And it was actually funny. I guess she was streaming the Game Awards when they announced it, and she's like, wait, what? Like, she knew because she had recorded an acceptance speech just in case, but she was like, hold on, I didn't think I'd get it. Most anticipated game went to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. No surprise there. That is the only point I got, by the way, was the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. No. That went to Matthew. Never mind. Oh, yeah. Tears of the Kingdom. That's what I had. Another Matthew point went to Last of Us HBO show as the best adaptation. And then an Angela point, best multiplayer, went to Baldur's Gate 3. Another point to Matthew, Forza Motorsport won best sports/racing game. Pikmin 4 won best sim/strategy, which I'm super happy about. Pikmin 4 is a phenomenal game. I love it, and you all should play it. Don't sleep on how weird it is. Like, just play it. You'll understand. Best family game went to Super Mario Brothers Wonder, which makes sense. You know, Mario goes on acid trips in the game. So clearly fun for the whole family. Best fighting game went to Street Fighter 6, who Angela had. That's the only non-Baldur's Gate related point Angela had. Best RPG went to Baldur's Gate, so that's another point for Angela. And then the only point I got, Best Action Adventure, went to Tears of the Kingdom. Best Action Game went to Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. Best VR/AR went to Resident Evil Village VR mode. Which I'm a little disappointed about because it's not a new game, but it is what it is. Honkai Star Rail won Best Mobile, which is another point for Matthew. Best Debut Indie went to Cocoon. Best Independent Game went to Sea of Stars, which I have downloaded. I've not played it, but I have it downloaded. Best Community Support went to Baldur's Gate 3. So that's another point for Angela. Best Ongoing went to Cyberpunk 2077. Games for Impact went to Chia. Chia! Innovation in Accessibility went to Forza Motorsport, so that's another point for Matthew. That's the only double dip Matthew did. All of his games, all of his draft picks had points, and this was the only one that had 2 points. Best Performance went to Neil Newbon for Baldur's Gate 3, so that was a point for Angela. We had a discussion of whether that should be a point or not. But at the end of the day, it wouldn't have mattered because she still would have won, even if we didn't count it. Best Audio Design went to Hi-Fi Rush. Again, I'm so happy that it won an award. It is a phenomenal game. If you've not played it, you've got to play it. It is great. Best Score and Music went to Final Fantasy 16. Best Art Direction went to Alan Wake 2. Best Narrative went to Alan Wake 2. One of us should have drafted Alan Wake 2. Because Best Game Direction also went to Alan Wake 2. And then Game of the Year went to Baldur's Gate 3, which is another point for Angela. And like I said, we finished 1 point me, 0 points Gavin, 5 points for Matthew, and 7 points for Angela. So we spent a lot of time going through the recap. So we don't have a whole lot of time to talk about it, but there are some things that came out around this Game Awards that had a lot of people up in arms, and other topics that some people were up in arms and other people didn't care as much. I'll start with that stuff first. Some of the voting. Look, Cyberpunk 2077 should absolutely get its flowers for what it did to fix what, frankly, they fucked up. They should absolutely get their flowers for that. Don't get me wrong. It is not an ongoing game. And I know some people have argued, if you're getting upset about that, that's nitpicking or whatever, like that. It's semantics. Well, you could argue the same about, people were arguing the same about Dave the Diver, and the same people that are now saying the Cyberpunk argument is just semantics were the people that were saying Dave the Diver shouldn't be in the indie category. So if you're going to claim semantics, you should claim semantics on both, and just be consistent with that argument. But nonetheless, it should absolutely get talked about. It should get its flowers. People should acknowledge how they turned that game around, similar to how people acknowledge No Man's Sky had turned things around, or how Final Fantasy XIV had turned things around, because it got removed for a short time. But it is not an ongoing game. And I think, as you can see with how many awards Baldur's Gate won, there's not enough awards for you to be not acknowledging the people that are actually in that category. Like, for instance, like, I know they hadn't had the best years, but like Apex and all those games, like Fortnite, like they're actually actively making their game ongoing. And that's why that category exists, is to acknowledge them. So to put not only to nominate a game that doesn't fit in that category, but then to have it win, that's disrespectful for the people that are attempting to do that. That should qualify for that category. Now, one thing I disagree with too, which I will say absolutely is semantics on my part. I didn't like the Baldur's Gate winning best multiplayer. Didn't like that decision. Yes, it has a co-op mode to it, but again, I don't think it wasn't built for co-op. It just has the co-op in it, and I don't know anyone that actually utilizes the co-op of the game. So I felt that was questionable, but I will absolutely say that's semantics on my part. And then Dave the Diver. It didn't win, luckily, but I put this out there on my stream, and I'm going to put it out here as well. Dave the Diver being nominated for Best Indie Game is detrimental to the video game industry. And the reason I say that is, and you can, Gavin, you can feel free to jump in whenever. I'm not trying to hog the spotlight at all. Okay. But the video game industry, right, analysts have been saying for years, and we're starting to see the beginnings of it this year with over 6,000 people being laid off from this industry this year. We're starting to see the makings of it. Analysts have been saying, this is not sustainable. This, as big as you can do, bigger the better, the more graphically intense, it's not sustainable. Analysts have been saying that for several years now. And again, we're seeing the beginnings of this. And so for a big publisher and developer such as Nexon to release a game like Dave the Diver should be applauded, absolutely, because that is the direction we need to start having games go. We need to start paring the games down. I understand games are expensive and you want to get your money's worth as a consumer, but games need to start getting smaller for the games industry to continue to thrive. And so, absolutely, Dave the Diver should be applauded, and Nexon should be applauded for releasing a Dave the Diver type game. Dave the Diver is not an indie game because Nexon is not an indie publisher / developer. It being nominated just reinforces this notion that games have to be this big production in order for it to be worth anything more than indie. If you put out something that's pixelated, that's cute, have fun with that. That hurts, because the other developers are going to be like, well, we don't want to be we don't want that. We don't want to be put in that category. We want to get, recognized for our hard work. So we got to make these big projects. And not only that, the indie developers, like the single people that are like, I'd really like to make a game. I could use this program. I could move these things around. They're looking at that and they're like, well, that game was only an indie game and it was made by 300 people. I'm never going to be able to have 300 people. And so it discourages young people that would make a game by themselves. It discourages them because they're like, well, I can't compete with that many people. It's just bad. It's just bad in general. And I was having a conversation on Twitter about it, and someone pointed out that it's not necessarily the Game Awards' fault. It's, everyone's chasing what Sony built through the end of the PS3 and through the PS4 generation, which I agree with. That's what started this whole everything has to be bigger, 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 and so forth. But this just reinforces that mindset. And people are now saying, because of this year with the 6,000 layoffs, that we might be having another video game crash of 83. That might be coming up, which would be very unfortunate for us as consumers.
But indie games would thrive.
Yeah. But that's my 2 cents on that. So now that is all out of the way, the big discussion that was had was how the awards part of the Game Awards was handled, because it is called the Game Awards. So the event was 3.5 hours long. So if you put that into minutes, that is 210 minutes. About 210 minutes long, right?
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yep, about 210 minutes.
Yep. So you'd think that a significant portion of that runtime would be the awards, right? 13 minutes. That's how much of that time was dedicated to the awards. 13 minutes out of 210 minutes.
That's why. So there's still it's still over 3 hours of not the awards.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
So obviously not every awards thing you watch, whether it's, the Academy Awards, whether it's, the Golden Globes, whether it's the CMAs, whatever, they'll get to a certain point where they're like, all right, here's 2 or 3 awards back to back to back. No need to have people come up on stage. These are the awards that were won, right? So they do have that for the Game Awards, but they weren't doing that. They weren't doing it at 2 or 3 at a time. I believe there was 4 times where they named off 5 awards at once. Like I mentioned, the esports stuff. Now, granted, the esports stuff doesn't necessarily need the stage time or whatever, but they named off all 5 of those esports winners back to back to back to back to back. And it's like, okay, cool, I guess. Obviously the team doesn't need to accept an award, and obviously League of Legends tournament 2023 doesn't need to go up and accept an award. But, coach could, the best coach could have accepted the award. The best athlete could have accepted the award. And then there were several other times where they did that. And best indie game, speaking of best indie game, everyone agrees indie games should have had the stage, so that way they can help advertise their game to the people that didn't know about it, or just get themselves out there. Now, they were listed in a grouping, didn't get to talk about their game and how they worked on this project at all. So it's like, oh yeah, best indie game, best music, best community support. There you go. GG's. And then there was a couple moments like when Eiji Onuma, who's been the director of Legend of Zelda for 15-ish years, something like that. I'd have to look at the exact number. It might be 20 years, but he's been the director for a very long time of Zelda. When he went to accept the award for Best Action Adventure Game, there's a clip going around where, obviously he's a Japanese man. He's saying his speech in Japanese, and then a translator's then translating it to him. There's a video online where the person's holding up their phone recording the speech, and then they pan over, and there's just a giant teleprompter with a clock, and it's counting down from 30. And I guess they each got a minute for their speeches, but after 30 seconds, they would play the music to play them off. And so, like, it's 30 seconds, and then the music starts playing over them. And it got better at the end as the event went on, and even Jeff acknowledged that his team was a little aggressive with the music. But, yeah. And then you have, again, I mentioned Hideo Kojima and Jordan Peele were on stage. They were on stage for like 8 minutes talking about this game we got a 1.5-minute trailer for. And it was just basically them patting each other on the back like, oh, man, I'm so happy to work with this guy. Oh, I'm so happy to work with you, guy. And it's like, could we have toned that down? And I love Anthony Mackie, but when Anthony Mackie came up to present an award, that award was like, that presentation, like, he was on stage for 4 minutes. Why did he need to be on stage for 4 minutes?
I love working with you guys. Like, finish this Cox already. Like, goddamn.
Yeah. I was thinking about saying that, and I was like, do I want to say this or not?
It reminds me of the meme of the gym dude bros going like, it's like, whoa, it's like, nice biceps, bro. Really been putting in the work. Like, thanks, bro. And then the next one's like, they're in the showers, like, whoa, nice glutes, bro. And then like the end of it is like, whoa, tasty dick, bro. Really been keeping it clean. I fucking love that. And like every single part of it ended in no homo. It's like, well, tasty dick, bro. Really keeping it clean, no homo. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But
like one of the funniest memes I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. And then another thing is they didn't bring up the over 6,000 layoffs that happened this year. And I know a lot of people have been saying that, he's got to work with the companies and he can't offend the companies because then he doesn't get the announcements or the ads, which help keep the show running, which is true. But you can also acknowledge 6,000 layoffs in the industry, especially when Jeff Keighley has positioned himself as the face of the industry, essentially, because the biggest summertime announcements is Jeff Keighley's, opening night live or whatever. And even then, all the other announcements are tied to Summer Game Fest, and then you've got these Game Awards where it's like the end of the year announcements are all tied to the Game Awards. So, and then he's always talking about what's going on in the industry. If you're going to position yourself in that way, you have to acknowledge the bad and the good. This was even worse, which is surprising, even worse than, I can't remember if it was last year or if it was 2021, but he did a Game Awards where it was after I guess it must have been 2021. It was after all the Activision Blizzard shit came out of how terrible of a company they were and how bad they were to their employees. Everyone's like, you need to address this. You need to address it. And so he made like this really unconvincing speech about how people need to be treated well in the workplace. You know what the trailer that was shown right after that?
What?
It was Quantum Dream's Star Wars game. Quantum Dream, a company that was also infamous for treating their employees badly. He showed a trailer by a company that mistreated their employees right after giving his statement about not mistreating your employees.
You think he would have known better, right? Right?
No. Oh man. That's what we call a callback. So yeah, it sucks, man. There's no other way to put it. Like, and honestly, I'll be perfectly clear here. I know a lot of people don't watch them, but the DICE Awards are the superior awards show. For those of you who aren't aware, the DICE Awards are developers giving the awards to other developers. So
see, the Game Awards isn't even really an award show. It's just a showcase of what games are coming out. That's it.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, would be fine. if that's what they were marketing it as, but they don't market it as a show to just kind of show out what all games are coming out with next few years or whatever. It's just all like the awards. No, it's not awards. It's just review.
And that's why people watch the Game Awards as opposed to the Dice Awards. I compared it at work to the Academy Awards and the Golden Globes. Like everyone watches and it acknowledges the Academy Awards, and they kind of just brush off the Golden Globes as just this other thing. Now, I'm not as into movies as I am video games, so I don't know
which one was it where Will Smith smacked the fuck out of Chris Rock?
Oh, I don't remember. Let me look that up. I think
because if it was the Golden Globes, man, they should have been watching the Golden Globes. Rats.
It was at the Oscars.
God damn it, you're fucking dumb. Hey, tit fucker, inside. Come on.
It was at the Oscars, so it was the event everyone pays attention to.
It kind of makes sense then. It was all over the fucking internet afterwards.
Yeah, but I don't know enough about movies to know if, like, as far as insiders respecting Golden Globes more than the Oscars and stuff. But I know,
dude. I used to watch the fucking Oscars and all that shit all the time.
Yeah, but all I know is I prefer the Dice Awards, but because the Game Awards is so prestigious of a name, I just wish they did a better job of actually doing what they're supposed to do. And again, I understand advertisers and having the trailers, because the trailers bring in people, which is what makes it so prestigious, and having the advertisers is what gets people to watch. But man, it was not good. And like I said, the voting overall between the nominations and what won was kind of suspect. Because another thing I didn't mention, Liza P. You look up Liza P. It is listed as an action-adventure game. It was nominated for Best RPG.
Yeah, but, like, I don't know. It's weird because, like, I haven't seen Liza P plays, but, like, it kind of gives me Dark Souls vibes.
Yeah, but those are also listed as action-adventure.
Really? Because of RPG?
No. I mean, they have RPG mechanics, but what game doesn't have RPG mechanics? That's like saying... I mean, you upgrade your stuff in Hi-Fi Rush. You upgrade your abilities and stuff. So does that mean Hi-Fi Rush should be nominated for Best RPG? Like,
yeah, but like with Dark Souls and Bloodborne and stuff, you straight up make your character, like make your character, like
yeah,
the armor and all that shit, and that's labeled as action adventure. That's just stupid.
Yeah, well, it's yeah.
If that's the case, if that was the case, then what the fuck constitutes an RPG?
Well, see, that's what we need to really define these genres in general, anyway, because Starfield and Persona are both RPGs, but they are wildly different games. Like, not even close to the same game. So we do need to like nail down what genres are. I think that'll help voting a lot. Like just having a guide of here's what this is, I think that'll help a lot. But maybe next year. Anyway, we're getting a little long on the tooth. So we're gonna go ahead and do the outro. So if you liked this podcast, or even if you didn't like this podcast because it's a bit long, make sure to do all of the things, like hitting the like button and hitting the subscribe button and hitting that bell, ding, 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 at the XofPlays on YouTube. Ding. Or giving a high rating on whatever podcast service you use so you can find like-minded people. Be sure to tell people about the show. Word of mouth is the best way to help us grow. If you tell 3 people and they tell 3 people, that's like 100 people right there.
That's 12 people, dude.
It's called exaggeration. I brought it up before, but on Patreon...
We just hate about you and your buddy doing fat, and now you're going to come over here and...
Yeah.
A lot, but...
Well, I didn't say fat before I said this, so... Oh, look at that. You got your own little soundboard.
Yeah.
Be sure to tell people about the show. Word of mouth is the best way to help us grow. And I brought it up before, but on patreon.com/thebriefing room, you can financially support the show and get cool rewards as well, like what we're going to be talking about coming up, what we've been playing. So,
but yeah, hit that bell.
Yeah.
Fucking, I'd be on Nitro for this. Damn it.
Oh. God damn it, Discord!
And the Graves Ragdoll voice.
Yeah.
I need Nitro to do it.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Well, I'm looking at Nitro right now.
That's all from us. Take care.